All right, so we'll go through what we know. Obviously, there is multiple investigations unfolding related to multiple homicides that have occurred since Friday. Let's start with our latest one, which was overnight. This is over on Carr Street. Around 10 o'clock last night, District 4 officers got a call about a shooting in the 700 block of Carr. When officers arrived on scene, they found people who had been shot. This was a very large crime scene. We're not releasing how many shell casings have been recovered, but I can confirm that dozens and dozens of shell casings have been sent to our crime lab. At this point, it sounds like there was some sort of conflict between individuals that led to gunfire. We can confirm that 2 men have died. A third individual is in critical condition. A fourth person was shot in the foot. And as I was coming down here to brief you today, I got word of a 5th person who was grazed by gunfire. It is still a very active investigation. I was just speaking with the homicide commander when he had to go because of some new information that was coming in. So I think that gives you some perspective to how active that case is. So that was our latest homicide that occurred, and that was over on Carr Street. I want to get to the next update, and this is going to be what unfolded Saturday night in the city of St. Louis, and this was on Interstate 55. Around 10:30 Saturday night, officers were notified about a 16-year-old boy who had been shot and needed help in the area of 4th and Walnut, Broadway and Walnut, just that general area. When officers arrived, they found a 16-year-old who had been shot, but was shot on Interstate 55 near Loughborough. The 16-year-old is in critical condition right now, and due to his condition, homicide detectives have taken the lead in the investigation. It appears that the teenager was hit by a stray bullet. This type of senseless violence is reckless, and it will not be tolerated by the men and women of this police department. Since this tragedy happened, we have been working and exhausting all leads. After the shooting happened, detectives closed Interstate 55 for a period of time to try and locate a scene. They located a scene and recovered evidence. On Sunday morning, homicide detectives shut the interstate down again to look for additional evidence. Additional evidence was recovered. Detectives have been canvassing and knocking on doors, but we will need the community's help to solve this senseless act of violence. We are asking anyone that lives in the area of Interstate 55 and Loughborough to review their home security cameras. We do believe that some of those homes that have cameras may have captured the incident. We need people to go home, look at their cameras, and immediately call our homicide detectives if they see anything on the cameras that might be suspicious or could point out an instance of gunfire, and let us know what's on those cameras. We are also asking anyone who is driving on Interstate 55 Saturday night between 10:30 and 10:40 that may have seen something or witnessed gunfire to call our homicide division. We cannot solve crime alone, but we do know that there are witnesses to what happened, and we need their eyewitness account to help us piece together what happened. No amount of information is too small. Somebody may be thinking, well, I may have seen that, but they probably already know. Don't assume. If you saw something, please call us because we need your help. No amount of information is too small. You never know what piece of the puzzle you might provide to help us bring justice to this 16-year-old boy. I want to remind everyone that our homicide detectives are available at 314-444-5371. Hold on just a sec. Yeah. I also want to update everyone on the murder of Michelle Hampton. As many of you know, on Saturday we announced that homicide detectives, intelligence detectives, with the assistance of the U.S. Marshals Task Force, along with the St. Louis County Police Department, arrested 43-year-old Anwan Mosby. I guess that's just an automatic light. He He was arrested in connection to the shooting of Michelle Hampton. She died in the 4700 block of Greer. Our homicide detectives presented a case to the Circuit Attorney's Office. The Circuit Attorney's Office elected to file 18 charges against the suspect. Murder first degree, assault first degree, robbery first degree ×2, attempt robbery first degree, UUW subsection 9, armed criminal action ×8, kidnapping first degree, endangering the welfare of a child ×2, and unlawful possession of a firearm. The suspect is also facing a federal charge, and that's going to be kidnapping resulting in death. For the reporters that have been in this market and have been a reporter a while, you know how rare it is to get a federal charge on the weekend. That goes to show you the amount of work that was being put into solving this, holding the individuals accountable, and we cannot thank the U.S. Attorney's Office and our federal counterparts enough for their assistance, along with the Clayton Police Department and the other law enforcement agencies that were involved in the capture of this very dangerous man. With that said, the investigation is very active. It remains ongoing. If anyone has information about what happened, please call our homicide division. You can also call Crime Stoppers. You can remain anonymous when you call Crime Stoppers, and you might be eligible for a cash reward. Those are some of the prepared updates that I have for you, and we will be open to taking any questions.
Mitch, just since you just talked about Michelle Hampton's murder, those federal documents indicate a second person. Have you guys made any arrests or located a second individual involved in this?
The investigation remains very active and ongoing.
Colin Brown's case, you said stray bullet. Do we believe this was random, or was it a road rage incident, or we've heard there was a rolling gun battle between other cars? Can you elaborate a little bit more? I think a lot of viewers were asking.
Well, there's going to be a lot that our detectives have questions about, and we have to get those witnesses and anybody who may have seen or heard something to come forward. With that said, we have recovered evidence from the interstate, and that was because we shut the interstate down on 2 different occasions. We will submit any evidence to the crime lab so we can start to get an idea of what possibly unfolded. But until that happens, everything's on the table, and we need those witnesses to come forward.
To help witnesses, do you believe that the shooting happened on the interstate, not off of the interstate with the gun, with bullets flying onto the interstate?
It appears right now that the shooting happened in the southbound lanes of Interstate 55 around Loughborough, while the victim and a family member were traveling northbound.
When you say evidence, do you mean ballistics evidence, or what kind of evidence?
We'll just leave it at evidence right now.
Can you
And
tell
what
us where
about
he was
Hampton?
shot? Was he shot in the hand, neck, leg?
We're not going to reveal that.
Obviously, 55 shootings are not new, so what does the
I'm sorry,
department-
what's
does
not
the
new?
department have to say to the public who might be afraid to drive on 55 because of shootings like this have happened?
I think that as you said interstate shootings are not new?
Yeah.
Okay. So all across the region, not just in the city of St. Louis, there have been instances of gunfire. In those instances, our detectives work tirelessly to hold people who have no regard for life accountable. We saw that recently up in the North City area when there was some gunfire that happened. I believe it was the West Florissant exit. Don't hold me to it. But we just recently, within the last month or two, arrested a person who was involved in that incident. So I think that when you look at the acts of violence that are occurring, it shows you where we stand on holding those individuals accountable when we're taking those people into custody.
For the community who might be scared to drive on the interstate because they hear of shootings like this, what do you have to say?
This is incredibly rare, right? I mean, you do not hear about this type of incident unfolding regularly in the city or the region of St. Louis. To be a victim of a stray bullet is incredibly rare, right? I mean, there are other instances of gunfire where the victim and suspect might know each other, they might be feuding, there's a conflict, it's over drugs, whatever the case might be. We've had shootings over gun sales. Somebody being hit by a stray bullet is incredibly rare.
Let's
would
talk
say- I
about
mean-
that. It's a teenager. It's hard to hear something like this happening in our city?
Well, I've seen the reports, and everyone's reporting on what happened and what the school is saying and what everyone is reporting, and it's heartbreaking, right? I mean, you think about a child who is headed home, and they did nothing wrong, and that is why our homicide detectives will continue to work until justice is served. And whoever did this, we are going to be coming. And you'll be expecting a knock on your door soon, because we are going to get somebody who cares to come forward and say, hey, there's something on my home surveillance video. We have some of the best detectives in this region. You look at some of our recent cases, they are very good at what they do. And we won't stop for him.
Do you think any MODOC cameras caught anything?
We'll continue to work possible leads and review any surveillance video that might be in the area.
You mentioned the rarity of an interstate shooting. Sadly, I've covered far too many, which have included a lot of innocent victims. Do you think a situation like Missouri Highway Patrol, being an extra force in the city of St. Louis on the interstates, could help prevent some of this violence, or at least free up your officers to do work in the rest of the city and allow the Highway Patrol to be more on the interstates?
Everyone is short-staffed. If you look at Highway Patrol, you look at our county counterparts, everyone is short-staffed. I don't know what their resources look like, but it's hard for us to sit here and say, if they did this or if they did that, this wouldn't have happened. That's really difficult to put into perspective when you think about all of the agencies that are hurting to find police officers and recruit police officers. That's hard to say.
So there are no suspects, right?
There are no suspects.
No known suspects that they're knocking on their door soon or anything like that?
Correct.
For this case?
In regards to the shooting on Carr, do we think that's gang related, and is there a problem with gangs in the city?
I don't have any information to suggest that it's gang related. I know that there was a lot of gunfire. There are obviously multiple victims involved, and our detectives will continue to investigate and try and identify the victims, and then that's usually where an investigation starts. So we'll head in the direction that the clues point us in.
On this teenager shooting, can you talk about the response time? Do you know the response time on that? How long it took officers to respond? Obviously, the family member was able to get off the interstate, and that's where police responded. Can you talk a little bit about that response?
So anytime that we get word of a Code 1 shooting, that's what we call it. It's a Code 1. It's a priority 1. It's the highest level response that you'll get. It is immediately dispatched. It is immediately, we pull officers off of lower priority calls to make sure they head to those emergency calls. I don't know about the specific response time. I know that there was at least one instance of District 3 officers being dispatched, and I don't know if that is because the vehicle was still moving and it was headed in a direction, but at some point District 4 officers got the call, and District 4 officers responded to where the car eventually stopped at 4th and Walnut.
Could anything have been done to have a faster response on this case?
I would have to look further into it. I'm not sure.
Mitch, going back to Michelle Hampton, can you explain a little bit more how Michelle and the suspect knew each other?
I would just feel comfortable saying at this point that the victim and the suspect knew each other.
Are you able to provide any more detail about the sister's allegations that the police didn't respond quickly enough? I mean, the body was found 4 hours later. Are you able to elaborate any more on what happened there?
Well, we do know at this point that there was an active look. What detectives have come to find out, a kidnapping that occurred. We will. I've seen some of those reports. In any case, we'll take a review at what she's claiming and make sure that from the start of the call to the end of the call for service was handled professionally and up to our standards that we expect of our employees. And if we find that there was any room for training, we'll do retraining. If there's cause to fire someone, we'll fire them. And I think that we have to make sure that we investigate it thoroughly if there was wrongdoing and make sure that we hold individuals accountable.
Are Are you indicating that that you have evidence of that there is an investigation internally about improper response in this case?
Anytime that there are public reports or the media will talk to somebody and they say that something wasn't done appropriately, we'll take a review. We'll look at it to make sure that what they're saying is factual, and if we need to launch an investigation or a review, we'll do that. But right now, the top priority is the homicide investigation. That's done criminally. If there is reason to launch a review or an investigation, we'll do that.
I want to circle back to the second suspect that's indicated in those federal court documents, but not indicated in the probable cause statement that you guys released. Are you looking for a second suspect right now?
Everything, it is a very active and ongoing investigation.
Do you believe that any family members could have been involved, had anything to do with this? Are you looking into that?
I don't have any information to suggest that.
Can you at least confirm that the suspect had a relationship with another one of Michelle's family members?
I can say that the victim and the suspect knew each other.
Had close ties with the family?
The victim and suspect knew each other.
Not to bring it back to Colin Brown again, just to start ping pong, but Dad is a retired law enforcement official, and in the family statement, they said that greater efforts are needed in the city of St. Louis and the surrounding region to support the police and equip them with the necessary tools to combat such senseless crime. How do you respond to that?
I think that as we've all shared here, and we've talked up here many times, when we look at the tools available in the basket, right? I mean, officers want as many tools as possible to fight violent crime, whether that be the Real-Time Crime Center, whether that be the circuit attorney's office or the judge, or whether that be state laws. And I would like to point it right back to some of the state lawmakers that are responsible for trying to keep guns out of the hands of people who have no regard for human life. And it is very easy to get a gun in this state. And when we look at the easy access that juveniles have, and we saw what unfolded this past summer, it goes right back to who has access to the guns and what is their intent with them.
This has obviously been a violent couple of days. This is a violent-filled press conference. Many could look to this and lead back to that conversation of state control. What do you want to say to the incoming governor and those who continue to push for that idea of state control?
There is, when you look at violent crime in general, and you see that while it's not easy to stand up here today and talk about senseless acts of violence in our community over the last 72 hours or so, you do have to look at the stats, and we are still continuing to see a decline from 1 year ago. And there are multiple things that contribute to that. But when you look at the number of homicides, right now we're at 136 homicides. A year ago, we were at 147. A year ago, it was our 10-year record low in homicides. Looking back at 2020, there were 242 at this time. We have a nearly 70% clearance rate when it comes to solving homicides, and which means that we're holding the majority of people who commit violent acts, murder in our city, accountable, and the circuit attorney is making sure that those individuals are being prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. These officers are dedicated, these officers are determined to make sure that people who commit violence in our city, that they're held accountable. And I have no doubt that we're going to see that in some of these cases, and you have already started to see that in the murder of Michelle Hampton.
Which I've seen some sort of whispers online that these homicides overnight on Carr Street is actually a home invasion gone awry. Do you have any comments on that?
I don't have that information. I do know, I was briefed earlier this morning on it. It sounds like there was a conflict between individuals that led to the gunfire. The investigation, though, is very active and ongoing. Just like when we started the morning, we knew that there were 4 victims. We now know there's 5. Things are changing. If we end up getting information that there was some type of home invasion, I'll make sure my office passes that along.
given the number of shell casings at the scene and the rise of auto sear switches in the city, is there any indication that a fully automatic firearm was used in this shootout?
There were dozens and dozens and dozens of shell casings collected. Our crime lab has to start analyzing those shell casings to figure out maybe potentially how many weapons were involved. Obviously, when you're talking about that amount of gunfire, the chances are there's more than one firearm, which goes right back to my point of easy access to guns with bad intents. And I think that as our crime lab starts to get an idea of maybe how many firearms were involved, they will be able to get a pretty good picture for our homicide detectives to start guiding them in the right direction.
For the interstate shooting, do you know if any other cars were hit?
There was another vehicle hit, and we are talking with that individual.
How many bullets were in the car where the teenager was hit? How many bullets went into that car? You know,
I'm not going to say.
Not gonna say. Okay.
Just to confirm about Michelle Hampton, at this time, you're not looking for a second suspect?
I'm sorry?
You can't confirm if you are looking for a second suspect in Michelle.
The investigation is very active. It is ongoing. We have multiple divisions included in this, including our homicide and intelligence divisions.
Is anybody else in custody?
No one,
Hasn't been charged?
no one else is in custody.
In regards to Colin Brown, did you say that his father was a former police officer?
I did not say that.
Can you confirm it?
I cannot.
You cannot?
We don't, while it is very easy for the, reporters work their sources, right? We have to remember this is a juvenile, and he is still alive. And we are going to protect his privacy as a police department. And so we did not say anything about his father. We did not say anything about a father driving. We did not say none of that. He was riding with a family member because he is a juvenile, and we are going to protect his privacy. That goes to show you this is a longer briefing than normal.
Mitch, I just have a question from one of my coworkers in terms of the Eureka bank robbery.
Mhm.
Your real-time crime officer really went above and beyond, it sounds like, to help locate this vehicle. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so this was nothing short of just absolutely fantastic police work by this detective and the Real-Time Crime Center. They ended up seeing reports on the news that there had been a bank robbery. They started looking because the detective knows that crime has no boundaries when it comes to city, county, state limits. And so they started reviewing license plate reader hits in the city. Part of that work included looking at nearly 700 license plate reader hits and matching up images with the description of the suspect that was wanted. The detective was able to look at certain body damage. They were able to look at the rims. They were able to compare it. They were able to possibly find a match. And we were able to relay that information to Eureka Police. And we were able to help them bring a suspect into custody.